So I have an opportunity to speak tomorrow about economic sovereignty and the state of the African American community. So the conference that I'm at is the Book of AI conference here in Atlanta, Georgia. And one of the things that I'm going to be speaking about primarily is the economic disparity between African Americans versus their counterparts and how all of that works. And there's three major components that a lot of people don't even really put a lot of weight to that really impact our ability in a negative way to really be able to compete. And you probably we even wouldn't guess what that is because these don't show up in the fine print. They don't show up in the numbers when you're looking at the balance sheet. But all of these are numbers that affect the balance sheet because they're numbers that take place before the balance sheet actually even exists. And the three things that I want to bring light to is abortion, rate of incarceration, as well as marriages. So when we're talking about being an economic powerhouse in terms of a people, those are three categories that we lead in, that we shouldn't be leading in. The rate of divorce, abortions, and incarceration rate. Those are three categories that we lead in. And they are having an adverse effect on our ability to be able to, how would I say it, to be able to truly compete on the highest level. Abortions, you're killing the future before the future even starts. We don't even know how many amazing entrepreneurs, doctors, lawyers, politicians, who or whoever that was that we aborted. We don't know who they could have been. And we're not giving a generation or a population of children an opportunity to shine their light into this amazing world. Imprisonment. There's so many talents trapped behind bars. I love it. There's so many talented men and women that are trapped behind bars. And then the marriage statistic in terms of single parent homes, that has a whole slew of ramifications inside of our culture and inside of our community, all by itself. So those are three main things that are really going to be I'm just gonna hit briefly on, but they really take us out of the game. They give us such a disadvantage in our ability to compete with the rest of the world. Those three places in particular are not places that we should be proud of at all. And when we really think about those three things in particular, systematically, that's where we're being attacked. That's where we're being infected. That's where that's where we're losing. So when it comes to AI being able to build a business, but it's not able to build a legacy, what we have to understand is that a legacy can collapse, right? So like, let me put it this way. 70% of the world's GDP is generated by family businesses. 60% of the world's employers are family owned and operated businesses. So I want us to really understand that 70% of the world's GDP, gross domestic product, is because of family business. And 60% of all all employment globally is as a result of family operated businesses. However, 3% of family businesses make it past the fourth generation. 15% make it past the third. So when we're looking at generational wealth, a wealth that goes beyond us. When we start looking at the Rockefellers and people like that, the reason that they're able to do what a lot of other people aren't able to do is because they actually have a system. They have what I call a staircase. They have a staircase to legacy. A lot of other people, instead of having a staircase to legacy, what they have is this. There's three ways. There's three ways that we get there. So the first one, I call it E1. Example one is a flat line, right? Completely horizontal. This is indicative of a people or a leadership group that is not planning for the future. They believe in it is what it is. They work hard probably, but they don't have an aspiration beyond this situation. And because they don't have an aspiration for themselves, they don't have an aspiration for their posterity, they just go on with the get along. And so there's no rise. There's no rise in that example. And the second example that you have is, I call it the peaks and valleys, right? Inside of the peaks and valleys, what you wind up having is you have an example of a father or a grandparent that says, you know what, I need to establish something different for my children. I need to establish something different for the next generation. And so these are the people that begin to have a vision that goes beyond them in their circumstance. Like, I remember even having conversations with my father. My father would say, hey, Brown, I know I don't have everything that you have, but what I want to do is I want to put you in a position to have more than what I have, right? And so I grew up with the idea, and I grew up with this mindset that my father wanted me to be better than him. So my father's aspiration was so he could secure a firm foundation so that this next generation can take it to the next level, and the next generation can take it to the next level. That was my father's idea for me, okay? But here's the deal. That was amazing, and it is amazing. And this is an example of E2, where you have the hills and you have the valleys. And so you have that father or that mother who's working hard so that the other generation doesn't have to work as hard. Right? You have the father and the mother who's working hard so the next generation doesn't have to work as hard. They don't want them to suffer the same, working in the fields and, because I'm from a migrant community. They don't want them to go through the same situations that they had to go to get to where they are, or to get you to where you are. Right? And so when the father establishes his vision and that kid takes it and runs with it, what winds up happening is sometimes the vision, the big vision, the clear mission, and the dynamic culture does not transfer. So the worth ethic doesn't transfer. The why and the rich understanding of the why does not transfer to the next generation. And when that generation cannot connect with that big vision, clear vision, big mission, and dynamic culture, it begins to lose. And they start to get lost in the sauce of success. And so they, because they're not working as hard, that worth ethic that didn't transfer, that level, there's a level of entitlement that may occur. And because of the entitlement, the growth is not sustained. It'll plateau or it'll drop. But then you have the staircase. And when you look at the staircase is a system. It's a series of steps. And what happens in the staircase is that you realize that every generation is connected to the next generation. right? And every generation is taking this next generation a little bit further. And one of the primary reasons for this is because the person that started it off is still leading their family from beyond the grave. So you have systems that help to establish the clear vision, the big mission, and the dynamic culture. You have wills, you have trust, you have attorneys, you have all of these things that are set up to ensure, you have rules to ensure that this step and that step and that step is followed. And so one of the things that we look at too is when we really take a look at these families, what we look at these families, one of the things that we tend to see is on those families that have generational wealth, the outcome of who they are to be or who they're going to be has already been decided. You're gonna be a Vanderbilt. You're gonna be a Rockefeller. You know what I'm saying? In my case, you're gonna be a Charite, and they're identified for what they have done over a course of generations. So they're not so generation 3 and generation 4 is not choosing what they want to do for the rest of their lives. What they're doing is they're choosing to remain connected to the original vision of what got them successful in the first place. I got to tell you, it's okay. Nepotism is okay. It is absolutely okay to have nepotism. Absolutely okay. Because that's how you build generational wealth. And people that shun that, guess what? You ain't that. So there's a system that already works. There's a recipe that shows you how to build a cake of generational wealth. And it needs to be studied, it needs to be modeled, and it needs to be followed. And again, when you start looking at these things, what you realize is they protect their marriages, they protect their men, and they protect their children. And that's what we have to do as a culture of people. We have to protect our marriages, we have to protect our men, and we also have to protect our children. And when I say marriages, that means that we're protecting our women too. We're protecting our women. But what I need you to understand is, as it relates to starting over, divorce is a threat to generational wealth. Incarceration or a loss of a man or a woman inside of the community is a threat to generational wealth. Not having a posterity to continue what you have started is a threat to generational wealth. So that's the conversation that we're going to have today when we talk about economic sovereignty. Yeah. This morning, I woke up